Welcome, everyone. So this is a different and interesting session, hopefully, for all of you. So we've tried to assemble a showcase for Atlas and Ranger, and working with several partners, we've tried to come up with some variety in terms of the different integrations they've done to showcase how the community has advanced this, and also give you some perspective on where these projects are and how you can get engaged with the community. So with that preamble, we'll just do a quick agenda here. So we'll start with the journey for Apache Ranger and Atlas, and talk a little bit about the certification program that we run at Hortonworks here, which Ollie here leads. And we'll continue with the technology showcase, and then wrap up with some summary here. Looking at the agenda here, as you can see, it's pretty packed, so we might not be able to get to all your questions. So in case we're not able to, we'll be outside and we'll be hanging out here after the session, so everyone can come and approach us with any questions you have following this. All right. So let's start with Ranger. So Ranger is a project that came from our XA Secure acquisition for Hortonworks, and we open sourced that in 2014. And it's gone through many, many releases now, and we find we're a top-level project as of this January. And we've had milestone releases along the way, so you see a little snapshot there. It's a pretty engaged community. We have a lot of integrations that partners are building or have built, and you can see a list of those features and contributors over there, and welcome anyone here who's interested in this area to come and contribute and help make the product better, so we have a solid security solution across the Hadoop ecosystem. Just to give you an idea here. So the ecosystem, what does it look like today? We have the, on the left, to your left, I guess, are the native service authorizers. So everything from HDFS, HBase, and so on, until the newly added components such as NiFi and Atlas. Pretty broad coverage in terms of authorization. So all of the actions in any of those services can be audited and can also be authorized at a very precise fine-grained level dynamically. We also have a bunch of sort of proprietary extensions to those and things that are not in open source completely, which are built by some of our other partners, such as EMC and Microsoft. Microsoft, for example, has a Ranger plugin that they've built for authorizing WASP, and they will be having one for ADLS service. EMC has built one for Isilon, and Pivotal, part of EMC Dell, also has built authorization for Hawk using Ranger. There was a talk yesterday on the Hawk authorization, so in case you guys haven't looked at it, please check those out. On the bottom right here, you see a bunch of integrations that we have on the security front. We have a couple of those we'll be speaking here today. We'll have Protegrity. Sunil is here from Protegrity, and Shant here from Arcadia. So they will talk through the Ranger integration that they've done, and then we'll cover some of the partner certification aspects of it at the end. Right, so shifting gears a little bit, Atlas. So Atlas is a project we incubated a couple of years ago. This was with all of those logos that you see there. They contributed requirements as well as code, as well as their knowledge in terms of the different verticals and their needs for a unified governance solution that kind of incubated Atlas. And over the past couple of years, we've been maturing that, and we are well on the way to make it a top-level project. You would have seen some announcements as to IBM's participation in this and our initiative in terms of driving this as a unified governance platform that came out yesterday. And we are continuing to make the push on that. But this is the other side of the picture, which is to say what is actually built today and some of the integrations, and we'll be showing that in a bit here. So. Atlas ecosystem, you see a bunch of things here. These are the connectors that we currently support in the Hadoop ecosystem, and most of the partners build integrations based on our REST APIs, and they've got their own specific objects that they deal with, metadata that they deal with, and we're going to see a great example of that with Talend. So Lauren from Talend, who's the CTO of Talend, is going to be talking next to kind of showcase that, that integration that they've got. Essentially, we also run a partner certification program at Hortonworks, which Ollie manages here, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means at the end after we finish the partner showcase presentations, right? So at this point, I'll hand it over to Lloyd. Thanks.
Oops, actually, I have a mic already. Okay, thank you. I'm Laurent. I'm the CTO of Talend. So I will talk to you about the integration that we've made with, Apache Atlas. In a nutshell, so what are the goals and why are we using Apache Atlas? What our customers are looking for in that integration. Then a little bit about the design, some of the technical details, and a demo. I only have 10 minutes, so I will spend most of the time on the actual demo. So the idea behind leveraging Apache Atlas was to give some lineage on the jobs that customers are designing with Talend. So Talend, for those who don't know, it's a big data integration company. So we have a studio that is the main entry to the Talend world where you build pipelines. So you can build pipelines that will connect various sources, push that to various targets, do a lot of transforms and so on. And we are a code generator, and as part of that code generator, we are generating native Spark code that we package, and we deploy that jar file on the actual cluster. And in that context, it's deployed on the HDP 2.6 in the demo I will show you today. So the idea for our customers is to be able to inject some telemetry, some tags, metadata as part of the job itself, so that can be then leveraged within the Atlas front end. So there are a few things that we've done, and we leverage the REST APIs, as we just said. So for us, I mean, what's great about Atlas, it gives us that visual also lineage for the actual pipeline. And when you build pipelines in Talend, I mean, you will connect data sources, IOs, and then you will put next to each other a few processes. It could be anything, filters, sorts. We have some pretty complex processes as well as part of that. And then we push that model and through the Atlas REST API, and then you can consume that into Atlas. We want to keep it as open as possible. So from a development standpoint, we are also integrating with all other lineage frameworks. And for us, that's something that's very important, is we work through a library that will connect to those multiple vendors so that we can also leverage other partners' solution. So that's our data model right now. So it's very basic. We don't have many objects, and we push some very basic information in the pipeline. What you see here in the middle of the screen, it's a simple job where we are generating raw data. It could be anything. Then we do a sort, we do a filter, and we push that into a file on the cluster. What you have underneath is the actual Atlas representation. So that's something that we've been struggling a bit in the modeling, in the sense of, from an Atlas perspective, you have dataset, processor, dataset, where in Talend you can have a dataset, and then you can have multiple processors next to each other and push that into another dataset as a target. So from a representation standpoint, we had to create that red box, so it's an artificial component, so in our model, so it maps well with the actual Atlas model. So we generated a feature request, so we have a Jira on that, and I hope that with the community we can implement it. Open issue, so I just mentioned the connection, the entity connection constraints. That's the dataset, processor dataset. We faced, I mean, as we are working with a cutting-edge technology, we are also aware of some of the challenges and maturity of APIs. We jumped on that very early because when you listen to our customers, the customers in general, governance is critical, and having that lineage is critical. So Atlas will become, hopefully very soon, that top-level project, and we can really rely on stable APIs. Right now, we work on the 0.7 version of the APIs with Talend 6.4, which is coming at the end of June. And what I will show today is a beta version of our studio, so hopefully it's going to work through. The good news is the 0.7 APIs are compatible with the 0.8. So thanks to the Hortonworks team, we were able to not start that development from scratch again. So let's go on the demo. So if we can switch screens, please. So there were some screenshots because I wasn't sure if the demo was going to work here or not. So what you see here is our studio. So we have a bunch of metadata on the left side, and it's a drag and drop application where you would drag components here. I don't want to build a full pipeline because there's no way I can do that in 10 minutes. So I already built some pipelines that are connected. So I'm generating some data. I'm sorting on the first name. So as part of that generator, I mean, it's just to run a sample. I have first name, last name, and some revenue. And then I'm filtering revenue that are over 40. So I'm doing a replication, and I push that on a file. As part of the HDFS configuration here, if I jump on that component, that's where I will define my HDFS. So here, I'm using something that I already pre-set up, so connecting to Ambari, getting all the information about my cluster. And then if I move back to my actual job, so if I go here, and I look at my Spark configuration, for those who are on the first row, so the good students, you can really read what's there. But I choose Hortonworks 2.6. I'm running Spark 1.6. Here I could run Spark 1.7. We are supporting pretty much any distros that are out there. And if you go to the bottom of that screen, so I'm pushing some parameters here on the Spark, but I'm using, so that's what we added. So we can select here, use Atlas. I'm specifying the Atlas URL and some logging and password. And let's see, that's good. And let's try to run it. So what we're going to do when I do a run, actually let's rename it here. And let's call that 2, confirm. And let's go back here, and I'm going to run it. So what we're going to do at that point, we are packaging all the jars, right? So I'm generating that code that then I will push to my HDP 2.6 cluster. And hopefully, in a couple of minutes, I hope the connection is still OK. It's going to package the job. It's going to run the job. As it runs the job on the cluster when it's deployed, we're going to generate that telemetry. And that's what we will be able to see on the Atlas side. So it's packaging, and now it's deploying it. So that's the output. So it's doing a lot of things in the background. And when that's done, probably in like 10 to 20 seconds, I will switch to Apache Atlas, the actual front end, and show you that replicate to job and the kind of metadata that we extracted out of that and that customers will be able to use. So maybe I'll show you another job. So let's do here search. So that's the Apache Atlas front end. So that's what customers will be using. So you can either do a text search, or you can leverage some, well, actually, that's the job. We just created, package, and launch. So if I open the job in Atlas and start, so here it's extracting the lineage, and it's going to show me a graphical representation of that job. So that graph that you had in Talend, we now have that inside Atlas. You can see the replicate. And what I mentioned before, where you have those artificial components between processes. And then if you go below, you can see, I mean, the author was root, some information about the job, some of the components that were used, and the likes. So that's a basic but quite powerful integration between Talend and Atlas. Here, if I switch on the tag front, I mean, all those jobs, when you have generated them, then you can add your own tags. Here, for example, I have all the Talend components that are being used across all my jobs, and you get the picture. Now you can click throughout those components and get additional information. So that's the demo I wanted to show you today. So under 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
Hello. Hey, everybody. I'm Sean. I'm the CTO and co-founder from Arcadia Data. Shameless plug. please follow me on Twitter. My marketing department is mad I don't have enough followers. My mom has more followers than I do on Twitter. So super duper Shant. Just, throw away your inhibitions and please follow me. I'm going to talk a little bit about securing visual analytics for big data. We use a fancy font at Arcadia, so that font wasn't provided when I sent you these slides, so they're going to look a little off. So real quick, what's Arcadia Data? We're the first native visual analytics platform for big data. So it's a web-based interface, custom built to make it very easy to do ad hoc analysis, data discovery, as well as production reporting for a lot of big data use cases. We're the only solution out there that's a completely on-cluster approach. So what that means is there's no separate BI or visualization application or tier outside of the platform. Everything runs directly on your Hortonworks cluster. It's managed by Mbari. It connects to all the nice interfaces and acts as an OLAP engine and a visualization front end that runs directly on the cluster. And so it's important here, there are two components. We have a visualization engine that gives you pretty pictures from confusing data, as well as an OLAP engine that kind of interfaces and hooks up with things like Hive and HDFS to cache and pre-compute a lot of results so you can get really fast performance. And we're big believers of sort of the idea of a big data operating system. So I have no interest in implementing replication. I did that once. It sucks. Encryption, backup, all of these things are wonderful services and operational properties that the wonderful infrastructure guys at Hortonworks have already implemented. So we really want to build applications from day one, purpose-built for this big data stack, regardless if it's on cluster, in the cloud, hybrid architectures, whatever it is, really want to embrace the big data operating system. So, as an application vendor and someone that kind of works with business users to get value out of their data, the biggest challenge that we always see in the market is IT and business are mad at each other because business wants data. They want to be able to do things that they couldn't do before. IT wants control over everything because they never know, especially in big data circumstances, how important or critical this data might be, usually until it's too late. So we got to balance the need for internal transparency, making everyone a good data citizen, democratizing access with, controlling who can see what, when can they see it, and what restrictions are in place. So just a real quick overview of what's Apache Ranger. So it's a centralized authorization and auditing service across a bunch of Hadoop components. So centralized is the key word here. It's important. There's one system that provides a service to security to a bunch of applications. So you don't have to implement security in every single piece of the stack. You can kind of manage that in Ranger, and then everybody else can leverage Ranger as a centralized place for this. IT loves this because you turn something off in one place, it trickles through everything else, and you know that you're safe. That's very, very important. You can do authorization based on resources. So there's a really nice abstraction on the Ranger side where you can implement everything from role-based access control to attribute-based access control to all these complicated government standards about gross ways of doing security. But everything is in a nice resource policy-based manner, so it's very flexible to control the types of things that you can define. And then, you have policies where you can define a lot of interesting things. You can do column masking, you can do geolocation-based policies, you can do time-based policies. There's a whole set of really complicated security logic that you can implement in Ranger and then have it inherited by the rest of the services. And lastly, and kind of the whole point of all of this is there's an extensible architecture. So Ranger was designed in such a way from day one that basically it's plug-in and API oriented. So you can add frameworks and systems to Ranger. You saw some of the ones that are available there. You can interface through a whole bunch of REST APIs about some of the functionality and management that's available. So this is I'm going to call this my money slide. If you remember one thing from the presentation, it'll be the content of the slide, which has nothing to do with visualization. But it's really why did we bother to integrate Ranger support? What was the point of all of this hard work? We could have just done it ourselves. Besides making Ali happy and getting a certification badge, which was very, very important, why did we go through the effort of adding a bunch of support for Ranger? So first of all, policy engines are complicated to get right. This is not easy code for anyone who's done it. It's also very disgusting code because you have a bunch of rules and you traverse the rules and you have to do a bunch of checks. It's very, very, very easy to get it wrong and it's very hard to get it right. And then I'm very lazy, and I do not want to implement this kind of code. It is hard code to get right. It has to be secure. It's best to be open source so you can audit it and guarantee that it behaves correctly. And then lastly, I'm going to sort of use a complicated computer science mathematical analogy to describe why all of this really matters. So show of hands, who knows what a zero knowledge proof is? 2, 3, okay, perfect. Very few people. You guys are not allowed to talk for the rest of this slide. So a zero knowledge proof is like a graduate school computer cryptography. It's a way of proving something to somebody almost very reliably in a probabilistic manner without actually showing them how to do it. So I can give you confidence in something securely without ever letting you know how that works. So we're going to illustrate this by talking about my magic powers. I have a magic power. I can count the number of leaves on any tree. I guarantee you that I can do this. It's very tedious for you to go in there and count the number of trees to verify that I can count the number of leaves on a tree. Right? It's almost impossible. It's a lot of work. You're just as lazy as I am. You do not want to do this. But I have this magic power. How can you verify that I have this magic power without me giving you this magic power? Go, ideas, anyone? Sorry? Trust, okay. That doesn't work, right? We're talking about security. Trust is bullshit in the world of security. If you trust me that I have this magic power, I will take all your money and all your data and all of this stuff. Anybody else? Yeah. Show you for a small tree first that you can count. Right, but that's too easy. Because like a small tree, if you can count it, then I can count it. It's reasonable. There's nothing special there. So third party, I don't even, what does that mean? Yeah, but then you have to, like, you always have to give up trust to somebody, right? The point of this is it's a completely trustless system. You need to verify I have a magic power. I don't want to give it to you. No. Oh, so you want to distribute the work, but then you have to trust the community, which, as we know in the open source world, is just as dangerous as trusting a single individual. The time lady will get mad at me later, so I'm going to sort of give you guys a general hint. So I turn around. Someone flips a coin. If it's heads, you remove a leaf from the tree. If it's tails, you don't. I turn around, and then you ask me the number of leaves on the tree. If it's one less than the previous number, if I got it right, then you know I know how to count the number of leaves on a tree. If I give you the exact same number and you didn't pull one off, then you have some relative confidence, because we're still flipping a coin, so I could guess every time, that I actually do know how to do this. If we do that experiment enough times, then with a very high probability of confidence, you know I have this magic power. I've proven to you that I have this magic power. I never showed you how I can do it. But by just either probabilistically taking one leaf or not and verifying my answer, you'll know, because you have some information that you removed the leaf or not, whether or not I have this magic power. Wow, right? Like, whoa, amazing. Amazing computer science. The whole point of this analogy is a simple yes or no question is all I care about. What, yes or no? Did I remove this leaf? Yes or no? How the leaf counting magic happens, I don't care. I don't want to know what that is. It's complicated. You sort of need to trust it. You can verify its correctness, but those details are gross and disgusting, probably, and you don't want to share that information. That's the value of Apache Ranger for us. A policy engine that can implement geofencing, can implement time-based rules, can implement all sorts of disgusting policy rules as an application developer that I don't have to deal with. I ask it a simple question in a simple API. Is Ali allowed to access this thing? Yes or no? I literally get a single bit back, a 0 or a 1. And all of the magic is somewhere else, and I can trust that it's correct, and I can verify its correctness. And as an application developer, I can very quickly ask these questions without having to worry about the implementation details at all. Right? So that's the real value. If anyone here is a user of Ranger or is an application developer, the fact that you can rely on a third-party service that can give you the policy engine details without actually having to know how it works. And in some cases, you as an application may not want to have this information in you because there's an inherent liability. is huge, right? So we're off the hook, and oh shit, 10 minutes already? All right. This is how you integrate. We have a checkbox button. We have an OLAP engine that's really amazing that hooks up to the Hive catalog. We have a visualization server that also has a lot of information about pictures and visuals. All of that goes into an Arcadia policy in Ranger. You can set rules. You can set more rules. It's very nice. You get wonderful stuff out of it.
Oh, no.
You're starting with the demo?
No, no, no. I'm going to start the presentation.
We switch to the slides. This one, yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sunil Sabath. I'm with Protegrity. What do? We do data protection. Protegrity, we have enterprise security administrator. The server is a centralized policy server, more in the line of Arcadia. Arcadia does the policy engine analysis. We have a policy server, and we to deploy policies across all your data sources and the targets, and to protect the data element. So, and we will apply security as close to the data as possible. Suppose you have the mainframe data flowing through across the enterprise to cloud. We can protect at the source, and then if the data flows, right, the data is already protected, right? And then we will deliver the centralized policy enforcement across the enterprise. So what is the core of our product? The core of our product is we protect the sensitive data. It could be PII, it could be PHI, or it could be HIPAA data, right? Anytime you have a sensitive data, right, you want to protect it at a fine-grained level, so that if your data is lost, or or somebody got a bad access to the database or cloud data, that data is made useless. Right? So we use something called tokenization, which is advanced form of encryption technology, and which will de-identify the data. You can see that that's a social security number, that's the identified data, that's a clear data. But once you apply our policy with our tokenization algorithms, you see SSN, name, and email. Okay? The identity is unknown. So if the data is stolen, the attacker, gets basically no value. So as I said earlier, Protegrity, we have customers deploying across the enterprise, and which will protect across the databases, across the cloud sources, and everywhere. And you see ESA. ESA is our centralized policy server. That's where you design your security policies, and then you push the policy, be it Hadoop, or be it your mainframe, or be it your Netezza, be it anything. So we protect it for all kinds of sources and targets. So this is our big data protector, where I'm the product manager for that. So if you see, we do have enterprise security admin, which is on the leftmost side. That's where I design my policies, how I protect my Hive or like HBase or my HDFS files. And then we have our ESA agents, we call PEP servers, running on each of those nodes, all the Hadoop nodes. And then once they're deployed, right, you can achieve what you call this fine-grained data, fine-grained encryption, tokenization, achieve that. And then being an app developer, suppose I'm a Spark developer, like I'm a Java developer, and I'm writing the code, and I want to protect my first name or last name or a social security number at my app level. That also you can do Like we supply Java UDFs, you can do Hive UDFs, right? So that's where it gets deployed. Okay? Okay, so now coming back to how we integrate with the Ranger. So as I told you, we are a data protection product, right? We go to individual fields, sensitive data, we protect the data, right? But as you know, we all know, like Apache Ranger is the authorization and the access engine for the Hadoop ecosystem. So we built integration between Apache Ranger and our ESA admin. So, what we do is, though the user is authorized, right, through Ranger, but if the sensitive data, if the data is sensitive, and if that user is not defined in our policy server, he or she cannot look at the data. Okay. So, Apache Ranger Protegrity is Apache Ranger controls access and authorization, and Protegrity protects the data at fine-grained level using tokenization. Okay? So how it benefits, right? So nowadays, see, one of the big problems of modern data lake, we're feeding data, right? One of the big problems it was discussed in the last data conference was, data lake remains useless because we cannot serve the data according to the users and roles in the actual right time and in the right way, right? So serving the data is a big problem. So using the power of Ranger, which controls the access and authorization, and using our feature for the data protection at the fine-grained level, defined user and roles will really help, use this data in the data lake, more effectively and securely across the enterprise. So this is a kind of a process flow. Protegrity consists of Apache Ranger. So Protegrity exists with Apache Ranger policies. So Protegrity has its own KMS, like key management solution, like server and its own data elements and all the algorithms. And Apache Ranger has its own. So we kind of coexist. Ranger controls the column access policy. Ranger KMS coexists along with Protegrity KMS. Protegrity protects the column data, based on ESA policy. That's what we do. And then another big benefit here is Apache Ranger has something called custom functions. I will show you in my demo. It's a quick demo. So you can customize that masking function and then use our Java UDF, right, inside that masking function. So Apache Ranger dashboard becomes not only the dashboard for your authorization and access, but also it also lets you do the data protection, both access and data protection. I'm going to show you that in my demo. Okay. So before I go to the demo here, I want to quickly go through the screenshots. So this is what you cleared. You see some clear data here, right? This is from Hive table. So this is the Ranger with your Hive plugin, and then Hive plugin has Protegrity jar files. Okay. So this is where how we customize the masking function using. If you see the bottom, this is our custom function which protects the credit card number. Okay. So that is for protect. And if you see the lower bottom, see the unprotect. Okay. And then, so here the demo, like you see the protected data and then unprotected data. Okay. So let me go to the demo right now. That's better. Okay. Okay. So this is our cluster. So this is a 5-node cluster. So this is SDP 2.5. It is Ranger, and this cluster has ESA policies, our security policies already deployed. They're designed and they're already deployed. Okay, I showed you in our diagram. Each of the node has our policy, deployed. Okay, and then I'll show you here. This is the Embari. So we use Embari MPAC. So here is our Ranger. The Ranger is running. And then if you see, we have actually disabled HDFS plugin, Yarn plugin, HBase plugin. We've only enabled Hive plugin because we have a Hive protector, right? We do have Hive protector, and Hive protector is deployed, right? So, and then we actually deployed our protector using Hive plugin, right? And then this is a screenshot, from our I showed you, right? So this is the Ranger GUI, right? I talked about how we customize the masking function. You come here. So this is like one of the examples here. This is unprotect, right? I can go here. Ranger, I can show the protect also. Admin. So this is our Hive plugin. Then I go to the masking. So I do a custom tokenization. So I've created users, user 1, user 9, user 1, user 9, and then so this is I call custom detokenization. This is basically unprotect. I'm editing it. So this is where you get that screen, okay? And similarly. And then I have for the protection, I have similar screen here. So this is the PTY protect, okay? And then what we have is here all our this is the front end, this is our web GUI to our policy server. Here I can show you. This is the dashboard. So this is the policies. Okay, so I can go through that. I just want to. I want to quickly show you after the integration how we do. Just 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay. So what I did here is I'm actually logging into our Edge node, right? So what I want to show you is how the Ranger Hive plugin and our ESA policy serve work together, and then how they allow certain users to access certain data. Here I will show you that user one has access to all the data, like he can protect and then unprotect. Okay? And I will show you like user 9 doesn't have unprotect role. I can show you the detail. Like user 9 is a user which actually do not have capacity to unprotect, and that's what I want to show you the quick demo here. So here, what I want to do is, a couple of slides, okay. So because the time is running out, I can show you the more detail, but let's stop here. Okay. So okay, I show you just 2 minutes. So I'm doing the beeline here. By the way, Hortonworks recommends using beeline. I just connect to my. Just. Okay, so I can do a select star from clear table. So I'm the user 1, right? I can see all the data. So select star from protected table. Okay. Now select star from unprotected table. So because user 1 has all role access, what time? Okay. So I think this is for user 1. I could have shown the user 9, but user 9, when it comes to the third select, cannot see the clear data. I could have shown it, but if you're interested, I can show you. Okay. Thanks.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hey, thanks, guys. So really appreciate our partners showing all the cool integrations they've done. We're running out of time, so we can take questions outside. I just wanted to leave you guys with, for all the folks developing partner applications on top of us, so for our ISVs and IHVs, we have a whole bunch of certifications you can achieve by integrating with us. So if you're interested in any of that, please come see me. My name is Ali Bajwa. I'm a partner solutions engineer. I help partners get integrated on the Ambari side, on the Ranger side, on the governance side. And there's the link where you can use to sign up as a partner if you're not already signed up. And there's a couple of breakout sessions that you don't want to miss. There's a really cool one about Spark and another one about Beyond Kerberos and Ranger by our partners, Privacera, who are sitting right here. Hey, Bosco. And so, yeah, we're not going to take questions here because we got to leave the room, but we're happy to step outside and take your questions over there. Thank you so much.